Welcome back to Pause 2-3. My name is Jen, and this is the place where your power is truly found in the pause. Today we are entering into step 5 of the 7 steps to becoming authentically you. And in the past 4 episodes, we have been looking at getting more familiar with and being aware of our inner whisper with information from step 1. In step 2, we tackled the people-pleasing habits that many of us have fallen into in this journey. Step 3, we looked at reclaiming your inner whisper. And this took us deeper into understanding our inner whispers, our inner guidance, our own internal GPS system. And last episode, step 4, we explored our emotions and looked at how to honor our emotions and our intuitions, perhaps in a new way for many, in a way with no judgment for our emotions. So if you haven't heard those other episodes, I invite you to go check those out. But you are more than welcome to just listen into this one, as each of these steps is definitely a standalone step that will prove to be helpful in any step of your journey. Today in step 5, we are tackling something that might be kind of surprising. Today we are looking at defining what your more means like in your life and how to create a life that feels truly like yours. Okay, this step is about the longing inside of you, the quiet ache, the gentle pull, that inner whisper that says, there is more for me than the life I'm currently living. And we do this in a way that does not dismiss the life you have now, not in a way that devalues what you have built, but instead in a way that honors the truth that your soul is evolving. You are growing, you are coming home to the authentic being that you were placed in this journey to be. So in this episode, we look at the fact that your more isn't about hustle, striving, running around like crazy in the world you are living. It's not about doing more. Instead, it's about becoming more you. So take a deep breath in and a long exhale and let yourself arrive here. This is a powerful step because it asks a deeply personal question that many of us, I dare to say, actually avoid. And that question is, what do I actually want? What do you actually want? Not what should you want, not what's expected of you, and not what your old identity once settled for. So it's about looking at you, for you, not the people pleaser, not the one that has lived a life because others have told you that this is the path you need to take, you should do this, you should do that. This isn't about that. This is about what you want now from the place of who you are becoming, your true, authentic self. There are so many people that sense that there is more for me is a quiet ache, a restlessness, a knowing that they are living only a fraction of the life that they're meant to live. But this step isn't about chasing bigger achievements or reaching higher expectations. It's nothing like that. This more that we're talking about me might be more peace, more rest, more joy, more authenticity. How about more boundaries? Or perhaps more softness, more self-trust. And sometimes, are you ready for this? Sometimes your more is actually less. Less pressure, less performing, less pretending to be somebody that you're not. Less overwhelm. Wouldn't that be nice? Or perhaps it's less sacrifice. So this is a little different, I bet, than many of you may have anticipated when we talk about your more. And today we are going to begin defining your more in a way that is gentle and aligned, but that is not pressured and that is not forced. This is where I invite you to give yourself permission to do what you want simply because it feels true. And the great thing about this more that we're talking about is that it's personal. Okay, so I mentioned earlier about the ways we can invite more into our worlds. And this more for you may look nothing like anyone else's, and that is beautiful. Okay, so here's a few more examples of what the more is that I'm talking about in this chapter. More peace, more alignment, more rest, more purpose for yourself, more space, more connection, more honesty, more expansion. And the other side of that more is fewer. So fewer obligations, which could in turn create more space. Fewer draining relationships, which will in turn bring more joy. Fewer masks, that people-pleasing mask from step 2. Less of that, less worries, less roles and less rules. Okay, you're more. So what you truly want in life, what you truly want more of, we often become aware of this through not loudness, but perhaps a quiet craving, a subtle restlessness, a longing that returns again and again. And this might sound really familiar to some of the previous steps where we talk about listening to your inner wisdom, listening to your inner whisper. Okay, perhaps this more is coming through to you in the sense that who you are today is too small for who you're becoming. You know, that inner light that is saying you are meant to be doing more for yourself. So defining your more is not about forcing clarity. It's actually about allowing yourself to be curious. It's about asking yourself these questions. What feels missing? What do I feel I'm missing in my life right now? And when you ask yourself these questions, again, I invite you to practice the pause after you ask these questions and just let the answers come to you in whatever way they may come. What feels too tight? And I'm not talking about your pant lines or your clothes, but what is keeping you tied down? Where is my soul asking for expansion? What are you constantly thinking about that you want to know more about, but the world around you just keeps telling you no, because the world outside is loud, remember? And our more is often quiet. And what about this one? I love this question here. If I removed fear and expectation, what would I desire? So if you had no fear and if you had no expectations of outcomes, what would you desire? Okay. And remember that your more is not a goal. It's a direction. Okay. Your more is meant to guide you through this journey. Your more is a compass pointing you towards a life that feels like home to your soul. Your more is a compass pointing you toward a life that feels like home to your soul. Have you ever looked at your more from that perspective? And if you haven't, I invite you to spend a little bit more time looking at your more from that perspective. So I'm just going to cover 5 points here. No, I lied. I'm going to cover actually 6 points here about what your more is to help you sort of shift your perspective and approach your more with a different mindset. Okay, so your more is emotional, it's internal, it's not external. So most people look for more money, more success, more recognition, more material things without ever really asking what feeling they're actually chasing. Okay. And this was an eye-opener for me when I started looking at my more as a feeling, not an achievement. Right? Because these feelings come from within. These feelings are what your soul is guiding you towards. It's not an achievement. Yes, the achievements are nice, but that feeling inside of you is what we are focusing on. And the second point is your desires, what you're going after, what you're journeying towards, will often feel uncomfortable at first. And this is something we've spoke about in the other episodes as well, this feeling of being uncomfortable, stepping out of our comfort zone, putting ourselves first. Your desires may feel inconvenient because you're going to have to restructure, you're going to have to do some things different in your life. And they may challenge your old roles. Because remember, when we are looking at our more, when we are looking at becoming authentically us, chances are we're going to have to let go of some old roles, some old patterns. And that might be a challenge. And that's okay. Because these desires are often going to ask you to grow. And growing is part of this beautiful journey of becoming who you authentically are in your soul. Okay, so remember that discomfort doesn't mean the desire is wrong. Discomfort doesn't mean that you should shut your goals down. Not at all. That discomfort means that you are alive and that you are actually experiencing new experiences for you, for your authentic self in this journey. And the third point brings up the awful word of comparison. And it reminds us that comparison clouds our clarity. Okay, comparison, when we compare what we want to what everybody else is doing, when we compare our lives to others, that can cloud our vision of what we want. Okay, you cannot define your more through someone else's path. So this kind of, the saying comes to mind, keep your nose in your own lane. Stay in your own lane, focus on you and what feels right from within, not what feels right for somebody else. Because the truth about comparison is it will always shrink your desire, shrink your goals into something that fits a mold that people have been trying to mold you into for your entire life. Okay, do not let your desires shrink. Do not allow yourself any longer to fit into the mold that other people have been placing you in. Okay, this journey, this desire, these goals, your more, is personal, it's sacred, and it's unique, and it is yours, only yours, no one else's. Others can cheer you on, and those are the kind of people that you want to surround yourself with as you work to uncover your more. And the fourth thing that is super important to remember is that your more may and will change over time. That is okay, because what you want at 45 is going to look completely different from what you wanted at 25. Because at 25, you only had 25 years, 25 levels of experience in this game called life. And as you continue to live and participate in this game called life, your experience grows, your exposure grows, and you grow. Your desire evolves as you do. So it is okay. It is actually crucial to allow your dreams and your desires, your goals, your more to evolve as you go through this life. So give yourself permission to check in with yourself so you can update yourself and your vision as you grow. One of the biggest things I think we can do is get stuck in a goal or a place that we feel we need to stay in because this is what we've wanted to do our whole lives until you knew differently. And then once you know differently, it is a-okay for you to choose to do different, to have different mores in your life, to have different goals in your life. And then the fifth point is that I love this one. Small desires are just as beautiful as big ones. Size does not matter here. It is oftentimes these small desires that help us discover the bigger ones. So wanting more ease in your mornings, for example, is just as meaningful as wanting a new career path. Okay, desire isn't measured by size. It's measured by what feels in alignment in your soul. So celebrate all of the small desires and recognize that these small desires are important. They are part of you and they are helping you discover all of your mores, regardless of the size. And then the last point here is that your body responds to what is true. Okay, so when you name your desire and a goal that's in alignment with you, when you are doing something that feels right in your soul, you might feel a sense of warmth. You might feel expansion in your soul, in your being, in whatever way that resonates with you. You might even feel relief, and you might feel like you have so much energy to do because you are now in alignment. Things are flowing, and you may even feel calm. And this is interesting because yes, you can have more energy and still feel calm because this is your soul, this is your body responding, saying, hey, this is where I want to be. This feels right for me. But on the other side of that, when you are following and when you name a desire, when you're looking at what you think your more might be, and that more is really not yours, you will often feel things such as heaviness. You'll feel pressure from everywhere. You might feel tightness, you may feel anxiety, and you may even feel numb. And I've spoke about this before as well, the notion of living comfortably numb, where you're just going through the motions, but you don't have spark, you don't have energy. You just, this is your body telling you that this is not meant for you. So in this sense, this is how we can let our body and soul help guide the definition of your more. Be aware of how your body feels. Be aware of what your body is telling you. So I have a couple of questions now that maybe you want to pause this and jot these down, or just kind of reflect on these as you go through your journey. And they will help you kind of zone in on what your more really is in your life. So the first one is, when you imagine having a life that feels more like you, how does it feel in your body? And refer back to that last section, part 6 there, where we talked about when you are in alignment, your body is going to perhaps feel these sensations, feel like this. And when your body is not in alignment, when you are doing things that are truly not your more, that are not in alignment with you, be aware of how your body feels. Okay, and then the second question is, what is one small desire that has been quietly asking for your attention? And again, this comes back to sitting with ourselves, sitting in quiet, allowing ourselves to pause and not have all the noisy influences from the outside world distracting us and guiding us to things. What is one small desire that has been quietly asking for your attention? And as you take time to sit with these questions and allow yourself time to think about them, I ask that you encourage yourself to be gently honest, and to have honesty that's gentle, but not worry about perfection. Okay, do not get hung up on perfection. All right, let's take a minute or two here and just do a mini guided pause before we end up here. And as always, once we finish this, there will be a separate recording of a meditation that you may choose to sit with and to listen to and to kind of save to help you figure out your more along this journey. But in the meantime, let's just take a minute here and do a little mini guided meditation pause. I invite you all to close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath in. And as you exhale, place your hands on your body where they are naturally being called to. So let them land wherever they land. And ask yourself, what do I want more of in my life? And then ask yourself, what do I want less of? And again, I invite you to allow these answers to arise without judgment. And as we close out this podcast, I just want to remind you that your more is calling you for a reason. Your more is the inner map of your becoming, the authentic you that you were placed in this journey to be. It is the roadmap of your soul. And you do not need to know the whole path. You do not need perfect clarity. You simply need to acknowledge the longing. And remember, your more is a direction, not a destination. Thank you for joining me in step 5 of this 7-step journey. In step 6, we are going to explore the stillness and inner alignment that makes space for clarity. okay? Because your next steps become visible when your inner world becomes quiet. And as always, please remember your power is truly in the pause. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And be sure to check out the meditation that goes with this step 5. Take care, my friends. Namaste.